Well, Donald Trump better start reading the filings of his own Solicitor General, John Sauer, and Department of Justice with the United States Supreme Court about the Jeffrey Epstein case if he wants to understand why it's not, in his own words, why it's not boring, and he can't understand why people are calling and demanding for the full release of the Epstein files, because in a filing just made by John Sauer, Donald Trump's own Solicitor General, his former criminal appellate lawyer, they lay out the reason that this isn't boring. They lay out the reason why the Trump administration should immediately stop the cover-up. I found it appalling that during a interview on the tarmac somewhere with Howard Lutnick, the Commerce Secretary, standing right next to Donald Trump, that he joked about Epstein, said it was fake news, said it was a hoax, with a laughing Howard Lutnick next to him. At the same time, another data point that I wanted to bring up here, not only was Maureen Comey, James Comey, the former FBI director appointed by Donald Trump, just fired by the Trump administration, but she was also the prosecutor for Ghislaine Maxwell. This is the same Ghislaine Maxwell who was the cohort of Jeffrey Epstein and the pedophilia activity, and was convicted in a New York jury trial of sex trafficking and other charges, giving her 20 years. She's got an appeal right now claiming that a non-prosecution agreement that Epstein signed down in Florida somehow covers her prosecution in New York, but the Department of Justice has just filed this new brief. I'm going to break into this new brief, tell you why there's such an amount of bombshell activity that puts a lie to Donald Trump's positioning. And I'm also going to do a little special approach to why Howard Lutnick should stop laughing standing next to Donald Trump, considering he bought his townhome from Jeffrey Epstein and lived next door to the infamous townhouse where all of these bad pedophilia acts happened. I'll do it right here on the MeidasTouch network. So let's dive in. We have Ghislaine Maxwell, who was the sometime girlfriend, long-term, I don't know what you want to call her, madam, pimp, that helped locate young girls to be ultimately raped by Jeffrey Epstein in Palm Beach, right near Mar-a-Lago, in New York, sort of down the street from Trump Tower. You see the connectivity here? And she, after he took his own life or died in a murder, I don't know which, but he no longer is here, she was tried, and a jury in New York found her guilty. She raised this argument that he had, not her, he had a non-prosecution agreement by the then U.S. Attorney in the Southern District of Florida, Alex Acosta. By the way, this did a black mark on Alex Acosta's career. Not to prosecute Jeffrey Epstein, and that because it mentioned co-conspirators, she somehow was shielded from further prosecution in places like New York. But that's not what it's one place I agree with John Sauer. But here's the part that pisses me off. Let me first run the clip of a Donald Trump taking umbrage with that. It's such an ordinary, nothing to see here state of affairs with Jeffrey Epstein, boring details. Wait till I read you from his own Department of Justice, the boring details. And then a laughing Howard Lutnick, who happens to live directly next door to the house that Epstein used to abuse women, and actually bought his townhouse in Manhattan from a trust owned by Jeffrey Epstein and the guy that used to own the Limited. Just to show you how all of these worlds collide. Now, one of my theories is, I'll show you the clip in a minute. One of my theories is they fired Maureen Comey because they want to flip positions and somehow move to start giving Maxwell a pardon because Donald Trump doesn't think Jeffrey Epstein did anything wrong. Wouldn't that go towards the cover-up? Get rid of the prosecutor, fire her, force the Department of Justice to change course in their Supreme Court filings, maybe even after the one we just saw that I'm going to talk about, and then give her a pardon. He can give her a pardon anyway. Giving Ghislaine Maxwell a pardon to cover up for Epstein and any connectivity and blowback to Donald Trump is the exact same thing as the pardons he gave to the Jan 6th insurrectionists, because he had to rewrite history. He had to make it a walk in the park, a day of love. In order to do that, the people that are in jail have to be political prisoners. They can't be criminals convicted of violent crimes. They need to be pardoned and loved and embraced. Same thing here. Jeffrey Epstein, look at this math equation. Jeffrey Epstein didn't do bad things. He did boring things. It's a hoax, and the whole thing should be resolved. I'm pardoning Ghislaine Maxwell. You see this connectivity, and her lawyers, and I know some of these lawyers down in Miami, David Oscar Marcus in particular. They're campaigning to get a pardon for her the way, all those other daughters and people campaign to get their parents, the Chrisleys and all of that, to get them pardoned. Same thing. Let me read to you. Let me show you that clip, though. Here's the clip of a laughing Howard Lutnick and Donald Trump calling it a hoax and boring.
I know you've urged people to move on, but I'm curious, why do you think your supporters in particular have been so interested in the Epstein story and so upset about how it's been handled?
I don't understand it. Why they would be so interested. He's dead for a long time. He was never a big factor in terms of life. I don't understand what the interest or what the fascination is. I really don't. And the credible information's been given. Don't forget, we went through years of the Mueller witch hunt and all of the different things, the Steele dossier, which was all fake. All that information was fake. But I don't understand why the Jeffrey Epstein case would be of interest to anybody. It's pretty boring stuff. It's sordid, but it's boring. And I don't understand why it keeps going. I think really only pretty bad people, including fake news, want to keep something like that going. But credible information, let them give it. Anything that's credible, I would say, let them have it.
Okay. You want to know how boring? Let me read to you from Donald Trump's own Solicitor General's filing that just happened in the last couple of days. Here's their description, Donald Trump's own government filings description of Jeffrey Epstein and the things that he did. From about 1994 to 2004, petitioner, that's Maxwell, coordinated, facilitated, and contributed to the multimillionaire financier Jeffrey Epstein's sexual abuse of numerous young women and underage girls. The abuse followed a pattern. This is Trump's DOJ. Petitioner and Epstein would identify vulnerable girls living under difficult circumstances, isolate them from their friends and families, gaining their trust by giving them gifts and pretending to be their friends, normalize the discussion of sexual topics and sexual touching with the girls, and then transition to sexual abuse, often through the pretext of a girl giving Epstein a massage. Petitioner and Epstein paid victims large amounts of cash to provide Epstein with sexualized massages, and after a victim had begun giving massages, they would offer her additional money to recruit other girls. Epstein and the petitioner carried on these activities at, among other locations, Epstein's residence in Palm Beach, Florida, blocks, walking distance to Mar-a-Lago, that's my commentary, and New York City, blocks, walking distance, 1 subway stop, 2 bus stops from Trump Tower. You ever notice the signs of getting older creeping in? Poor sleep, low energy, maybe a little brain fog or stiffness that didn't used to be there. Same here. And healthy aging is something I've been thinking about more than ever. That's why I'm so excited to share with you guys C15 from Fatty 15, the first emerging essential fatty acid to be discovered in more than 90 years. It is an incredible scientific breakthrough to support our long-term health and wellness, and you guessed it, healthy aging. Fatty 15 co-founder Dr. Stephanie Van Watson, she discovered C15 while working with the U.S. Navy on aging dolphins. Over 100 studies now show that C15 strengthens our cells and helps slow biological aging at the cellular level. When our cells don't have enough C15, they become fragile and age faster. That's called cellular fragility syndrome, the first new nutritional deficiency in 75 years. 1 in 3 people worldwide may have it. Fatty 15 is a science-backed, award-winning, patented, 100% pure C15 supplement that repairs cellular damage, boosts sleep and brain health, and helps your body feel younger from the inside out. I've been taking Fatty 15 for a few months now, and I really started noticing deeper sleep and more energy throughout the day. I wasn't expecting much at first, but I've actually seen a difference. And that's saying a lot when most supplements don't deliver. And it comes in a beautiful reusable jar with easy refills sent right to your door. Fatty 15 is on a mission to optimize your C15 levels to help support your long-term health and wellness, especially as you age. You can get an additional 15% off their 90-day subscription starter kit by going to fatty15.com/legalaf and using code legalaf at checkout. And then it went on until the revelation in 2005 of a 14-year-old girl led to the complete unraveling of this predatory predatory sexual abuse by Jeffrey Epstein. Now, that's the description that Donald Trump had the balls to call boring. And Howard Lutnick should stop laughing. Because if I bought my townhome, right, my Taj Mahal in the Upper East Side from Epstein, and it was directly next to the scene of all that sexual abuse, I would stop chuckling over hoaxes. Now, let's go back to my theory about the pardon that's in the works, likely, for Maxwell. Donald Trump's going to have to pardon her because it's consistent with his theory. He's having no luck tamping down the MAGA from attacking him for not taking pedophilia and a pedophilia abuse seriously. Once MAGA connects the dots in their own mind, that there's pedophilia being supported, participated in, and protected by people in high government office, and you're covering that up, and you happen to be the guy that was supposed to drain the swamp and supposed to go after all these people, you're done. You're dead. You're toast. That's where Donald Trump is at the very moment as I do this recording. But for Donald Trump, he's yelling back at MAGA, telling them that they are weak, that this is a hoax, that they're falling for it, that they need to get off this topic, that it's quote unquote, as you saw in the clip, boring. It's not working. And now MAGA and the legislators are worried about their own political careers after Donald Trump's is over, are demanding and pounding the table for the release. Social media activists like Laura Looney Loomer going after everybody in sight, including the Department of Justice and the FBI, and ultimately Donald Trump, Tucker Carlson, Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, Thune, the Senate Majority Leader, all pounding the table in unison with Democrats. Let the files go. Elon Musk had it right for once. Must release those files. But I want you to keep an eye on this building drumbeat towards getting Maxwell a pardon. Because if David Oscar Marcus, the lawyer from Maxwell, and I know he's super smart, and he's doing his job for his client, zealous advocacy, and I can admire that. But he's trying to set up a pardon for her. And he even said, he had his own comment about this filing by Donald Trump's own Solicitor General. He said he would find it shocking if Donald Trump, who's basically the big guy who's the art of the deal, if he was aware that this had been filed. He's basically calling out Donald Trump. Did you know? Because his argument is that there was a deal between not Maxwell, not his own client, but that Epstein's deal in Florida with the Southern District of Florida somehow covered her and gave her a shield for anything about being prosecuted in New York. And that's just not how non-prosecution agreements work. I think that the Comey firing, Maureen Comey's firing, is the beginning of this path that I can see of Donald Trump getting around to pardoning Maxwell in order to try to prove to MAGA that there's nothing to see here. I think it just pours kerosene and gasoline on the flames and blows up in his face. That's my prediction. Maureen Comey said this on the way out in a letter that she wrote to her group. Every person lucky enough to work in this office, that's the U.S. Attorney's Office in Manhattan, constantly hears 4 words to describe our ethos: without fear or favor. Do the right thing, the right way, for the right reasons, without fear of retribution, and without favor to the powerful, she wrote. We've entered a new phase where without fear may be the challenge. If a career prosecutor can be fired without reason, fear may seep into the decisions of those who remain. Do not let that happen. Fear is the tool of a tyrant, wielded to suppress independent thought. Couldn't have put it any better. That's a person that didn't want to use the revolving door of being a prosecutor and then go get a lucrative 7 or even 8-figure job somewhere with a cushy Wall Street firm. She wanted to be what she referred to herself as, self-referred. I wanted to be a career prosecutor, working for all administrations without showing fear or favor. An institutionalist, somebody who's apolitical in their approach. That has been completely destroyed in this Department of Justice. That's why when this Department of Justice steps into a courtroom before federal judges, bipartisan ones, they have no respect. They're given no respect because they cannot be trusted with the rule of law or with their own ethical obligations as lawyers. I'm glad you're here on the MeidasTouch Network. Hit the free subscribe button. Come on over to Legal AF, the YouTube channel. Hit the subscribe button there. We don't have a paywall. We don't have any outside investors. The way to support us is what I just outlined. So until my next report, I'm Michael Popok. Can't get your fill of Legal AF? Me neither. That's why we formed the Legal AF Substack. Every time we mention something in a hot take, whether it's a court filing or a oral argument, come over to the Substack. You'll find the court filing and the oral argument there, including a daily roundup that I do called, wait for it, Morning AF. What else? All the other contributors from Legal AF are there as well. We got some new reporting. We got interviews. We got ad-free versions of the podcast and hot takes. Where? Legal AF on Substack. Come over now to free subscribe.